So, Berto, we recently finished your deep dive on JonBenét Ramsey, and we also talked about cultural appropriation. So I thought we'd take a break and just answer some random emails and talk about some random things. What do you say?
That sounds great.
This is the Psychology in Seattle podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist, and I'm also a professor. Who are you, Berto?
My name is Humberto Castañeda, and I dive looking for purple pearls.
So, YouTube member and long-term patron Lara from Napeville, Illinois. I never remember if it's Lara or Lara. Probably Lara.
Lara.
I feel like I knew a Lara, but
really?
It's usually Lara. Anyway.
Lara Croft.
She says, Berto did such a great job on the JonBenét Ramsey deep dive.
Aww.
I loved how he unveiled the story with suspense. Keep doing these, Berto. I also liked Kirk's closing advice to sit with the horror and uncertainty rather than distracting ourselves or jumping to conclusions. So
that sounds very nice.
Thank you, Lara, for complimenting me at least a little bit. Another JonBenét Ramsey email, listener Shay, she says, I wanted to share another possible explanation besides sexual abuse for the forensic findings related to the wounds on JonBenét's genitals, given the details of the story you provided. If she did wet the bed as often as was reported by the housekeeper, she was likely asleep with urine-soaked clothing on her skin very often, which could lead to irritation, itching, redness, and infections such as vaginitis, as Berto mentioned, and also yeast infections, etc. There could be acute or chronic wounds in various phases of healing from her scratching the area to relieve the itching. Doesn't really explain the bruising noted, but that could also have been from the physical assault and or accident which led to her death, meaning that it was a one-time event,
right?
Not an ongoing. I don't know, just thoughts. Love your show. End of email. What do you think, bro?
Yeah, definitely. I remember reading this comment and I thought, oh, or you sent it to me, I think. Yeah. I was like, oh, yeah, that could be too. Obviously, I have next to zero knowledge about forensics and things like that. I just thought that when you remember the analysis from the forensic analysis from the, what do you call it? The coroner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It said both chronic and acute, and that's where I was like, that made, like the indication is like some of it was recent, some of it seemed to be like, now this explanation could still maybe be, like, hey, maybe there was, who knows? Sadly, who knows?
Yeah. And part of the problem is that since it never went to trial, we don't have the money allocation to experts to debate it. Now, in all likelihood, the Ramseys would have had experts saying it was from urine, and the prosecution would have had experts saying it was from sexual abuse. So, but I will say that after watching the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, even though you did have experts on both sides saying things, it didn't necessarily mean that I, as an observer of this testimony, was confused. Like there was this one where, and I can't believe I'm opening this can of worms, but where, and for the record about those two, I don't know. I watched the entire trial and I watched other trials and other reports and other information. And it's just hard to tell because there are very different stories being told by credible people. And there's also a possibility that they were both abusive, even though people will say that's not a thing. And I'm here to tell you as an expert in partner violence, it is a thing.
Sure.
Why would it not be? Why could you not have two people that are occasionally abusive, meaning that it's not a pattern of abuse from one person, because that's usually what we're talking about. But you have two people that are volatile and tend to use control and intimidation to get their way in a fight or something, either alternatingly, where one person is one day, another person is the other, or literally at the same time. So there was evidence that could be. There's also evidence that he was 90% a monster, or she was. It really just depended on what you believed.
Wow.
But because the things she was describing that he had done was psychopathic. I mean, this like raping her with it was horrific, the things that she was suggesting or had testimony that he had done. and vice versa. He said that she threw a bottle at him and it severed a finger off of his hand and stuff. And anyway, so
I guess I'm glad I didn't dive into that world.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting case, and what I'll say as someone that tries to remain as cautiously objective as possible, I wouldn't have put a lot of money down on anything because there was just too much different information. But I will say that there was one expert testimony where it was pretty silly because what happened, there was one little portion of the story was that she had claimed that he had hit her in the face and that she had a bruise on her face, and she had taken a picture of her face with a bruise. And she had given that picture to the police or to the press or something. And this was a major part of her case against him as an abusive person. So this picture was looked at quite a bit. And when you looked at the picture, it was pretty clear that it had a filter on it, or that she was in a red room or something, because there was a lot of redness that was highlighted in the photo. And then when I can't remember the exact sequence, but there was another photo that was found or was released that looked very similar to the red photo, but it didn't have what looked to be a filter on it, and you couldn't really see much of a bruise on her face. And so
that there's potential alteration to the
right. So the case from the Johnny Depp side was, this is the same picture, and it's clear that she was manipulating the one that has the red tint to it, and she was lying. When I saw that, I thought, well, all she has to say is it is the same photo. And yeah, I did turn up the red filter on my iPhone because because he did hit me. And when I took a picture of myself, even though in the mirror I could see it.
You couldn't quite see it.
You couldn't quite see it. So I turned up the filter.
Yeah. So you could see it.
Yeah. And for whatever reason, I just didn't bruise that much during that moment. Or I had a bruise, 5 hours later or something. Yeah. All she had to do, I would have totally been fine with that. Right. But that's not what she said. What she said was, those are two different photos.
Oh.
And then you had experts who would get on this, because she's made a claim.
Right.
So you have experts that look at the metadata and look at the photo side by side, and you can clearly see by the metadata and by the photo that it's the same. I mean, it's a close selfie. There are individual strands of hair that are in the exact same place.
Right.
So unless she used concrete hairspray on that one hair that's going in front of her cheek, then it's the same photo and it's fine. It doesn't hurt her to just give context, but that's not what happened. She said they were different photos. And so when the expert said that they were in fact different photos, because you can clearly see differences, I'm like, no, there aren't.
No.
So even though you have experts, so with the JonBenét Ramsey case, we would have
seen that in trial and been able to hear both sides.
And we might have been like, okay, well, that expert.
It's like when we did the Menendez, I don't remember. I'm guessing you felt similar. When I was going through and listening, we didn't listen to the whole trial, but I listened to a lot of their testimony. And I started going like, well, yeah, I guess they could be making it all up, but damn, once you see the trial, you can make your own mind up because you have more data. You have a lot more data.
A lot more data, yeah. Now, it's manufactured data because they practice it, but it is just a lot more data. It's formal presentation of a case, where what we're dealing with is like leaked information, blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Now, I want to say for the record that there's a lot of evidence that Johnny Depp was a monster and abusive. I saw in a video of him being a monster, so I'm not making any case. I'm not going to relitigate literally this whole thing. Anyway, so I wanted to briefly talk about a movie I saw last night, Weapons.
Oh, you finally saw Weapons.
I gave it a 1 out of 10.
No, you didn't.
I did.
What?
I fucking hated it.
No way. 1 out of 10?
It was it was boring. So let me tell you.
Oh, I was so wrong in my prediction.
Everyone's going to hate me because it has a 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, but so did The Lighthouse, and also 28 years later, I also didn't like. So
I haven't seen that one yet.
So I don't like horror. So that
I know,
and people, it's not really horror. Okay, fine. If it has a jump scare in it, it's horror to me.
Well, it's definitely a horror movie.
Okay.
It's definitely a horror movie. Yeah.
So I don't like horror movies. And one of the major reasons why, and of horror movies that I don't like, the major element is when there's a supernatural creature with, basically unlimited power that can do whatever they want to our protagonists, and there's nothing they can do. That's not a story. That's not a struggle of evil versus good. It's you literally have a god living in your town that is fucking with children and everyone else. And what's the story?
Wait, but see, that's where I thought you would, because we talked about this, and I get you on a lot of examples like that, right? Because you can make the same case about like Halloween or Friday the 13th stuff. But they lay out the rules pretty clearly, and she is not a god.
She's close to a god.
No, she gets easily overpowered by one rule, right?
For 99% of the movie, or 90% of the movie, she has full reign to like just complete. She casts a spell on the principal, and he goes running after the teacher because of reasons. She's magic.
Well, but that she's got powers, and she exerts those powers.
And so when I'm watching the scene, and he's vomiting blood on his partner, and which is disgusting, by the way. And the principal, what is the story?
But
what was he supposed to do?
But first of all, they didn't have to let her into their house. Number one, it's like, these are inappropriate. Well, you have to come visit me at the school, whatever. But anyways, okay, so you didn't like that because she felt overly powerful, like infinitely powerful.
Well, not only that, but it started out really interesting. You have all these kids that disappear this one night, and I was surprised that they jumped forward like 30 days. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then we're focused on the teacher and how it's a witch hunt. Everyone's after her.
Right.
And it starts to feel like, even though this is a bizarre scenario, there are elements that feel familiar, school shootings or of kids that are lost in social media or something, it just kind of has this vague feeling of familiarity. But then the story jumps from her to the dad, and I'm like, okay, I'll go with that. And okay, we're just sort of a Rashomon kind of thing. And then we jump from the dad to this like the drug guy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't give a shit about the drug guy. And then we jump to the principal, and I'm like, I don't give a shit about the principal. Let's get back to the kids and the teacher and the dad.
Okay.
And then like the teacher's story was really interesting because she is an alcoholic.
Yeah.
She cheats with that guy, Han Solo. That was an interesting, scene. The wife comes after, and she is not in a good place.
That's Han Solo?
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't realize that.
That's funny. Yeah, he's in a bunch of stuff, but anyway.
That's crazy.
She is so kind of out of control that she goes to the house of the boy, you know what I mean? And she just can't stop thinking about it. Someone puts witch on her car, like it just had, I was like, Scarlet Witch, Scarlet Letter, she's the new girl, sexism,
all those themes,
scapegoating, but then we just got further and further away from that and further towards this supernatural creature that can cast spells in, frankly, a disgusting manner.
Yeah.
Of like cutting, like dripping blood. And there were people because they didn't want to have it be too supernatural, they had the characters have dreams with jump scares, which is always, that's lazy writing. When you want to scare the audience.
I will agree. The dreams were my least favorite, especially the gun over the house.
Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I have dreams. I have fucked up dreams frequently.
Yeah.
But it's not a story. That's just dreaming, you know? You're just dreaming. And it wasn't even implied that the witch was getting into the dream necessarily. I mean, maybe, because it's like, why would they be dreaming?
No, that was unclear. No, I agree with you about the dreams. It's so interesting, though.
It's just boring. Honestly, like, I forget the horror aspect. I was bored.
Wow. I watched this movie twice in the theater and would have gone again with you. I was so entertained because to me, this was like, it used that Pulp Fiction nonlinear storytelling that I do like. But
with Pulp Fiction, it has drama. You could say it's over the top, but there's a heist, there's a briefcase, there's death. With this one, I'm like, why are we going to the drug addict? Like, what does he have to do with the kids? Like, that's a central question. There was
a connection, it turns out.
Kind of. And then we see him get into the house, and the parents are sitting there in that horror movie kind of thing where they're just staring at the wall. And I'm also watching this kid be, like, tortured by this scenario. I'm just like, how long do we have to watch this kid deal with this horrific... he's being tortured. I mean, this kid is going to be fucked up. And then turns out the kids are still, and it's like, Jesus Christ.
Horror is not your genre.
Like, I'm just like, this is, do people want to watch kids suffer? Is that the thing?
I mean, horror
do you want to see parents jabbing themselves in the face with a fork? Is that what you do for entertainment?
Yes, that's what horror movies are for.
My fucking God. Like, now, I will say K-pop Demon Hunters, 8 out of 10, maybe 9 out of 10.
It's a solid movie.
I'm not even done with it. I just started it last night because I was trying to erase weapons from my fucking eyeballs.
So understand that I didn't want to have anything to do with K-pop, whatever. I was forced to watch it by my kids. I loved it.
As a songwriter, you can kind of appreciate it.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though the music is,
No, it's not my style, but I liked it. It was well done, and the animations were great, and the story was entertaining.
So I went down a rabbit hole last night because I've been having this ongoing question that what happened to J-pop? I feel like most young people today don't even know J-pop exists.
Sure.
But for a long time, that's all we heard about was J-pop.
Yeah.
Even as I say J-pop, it sounds weird coming out of my mouth because I've said K-pop so many times.
That's true.
And so I'm like, what happened to J-pop? Because K-pop, Korean pop was sort of like, well, Korean pop, they were like the younger brother of the big brother of J-pop. So I looked online and was trying to figure out, did it just disappear? Maybe they moved on in Japan? Maybe, like in the United States, we don't have boy bands really anymore.
Right.
So maybe they don't either. Turns out they do.
They do.
Turns out Japan, the pop music industry is second only to the United States.
Yeeks. Wow.
and they export a lot of their music, including their J-pop.
Oh.
But for whatever reason, culturally, it never comes across my desk. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I used to go karaoke a lot in college and shortly after college, and my friends were Asian, pretty much all of them. And we'd go to the rooms, the Korean mostly, and some Japanese rooms, but the
karaoke boxes.
And they would play, because, my friends would request, and just tons of Korean and Japanese pop.
Right.
Japanese pop was huge in that scene.
So apparently it's still big.
Still huge.
Yeah. And there's a set of huge, but I think the difference is, and this is just anecdotal, that K-pop is more akin to classic 80s simple, but they iterate. I mean, the K-pop is definitely, when I hear it, I'm like, oh, that's interesting what they're doing, but it's still very accessible. Like if an 80s person heard it, when we were in the 80s, if we heard it, we'd be like, oh, okay, I get what's happening. J-pop and just general Japanese popular music, because I think the history is more robust. It's been around longer. I think there's more money. There's more tastes, because Japan has more sub pockets of musical taste. You know what I mean? That the music is it's sounding, it's, to me, J-pop is starting to sound a little bit like math rock to me.
Interesting.
It's jazzier.
Yeah.
It's more complicated.
I would be interested to hear it because I'm talking about like freaking 30 years ago or whatever. To me, it was very reminiscent. The first time my friend Shun showed me J-pop, to me, it was very reminiscent of pop music from Latin America and Colombia that was in Spanish. And so it's almost like, and I had this feeling like both of them had absorbed some of the 70s from the States music and then kind of made it their own during the 80s. And now it had come out something that sounded reminiscent of 80s and 70s, but in their own way. But now it sounds like they've evolved.
Right. I mean, Japan has had a lot of they've had jazz and, rockabilly, and they have some of the hardest rock you've ever heard. And they have a rich indie scene, but they have a very rich, what I would call math rock scene, where it's and it's not like Rush. It's more like no distorted guitars. It's just like really intricate guitars, 12/7 meter, and
but it's pop somehow.
but some of that I think has influenced some of them. They also have like a rich like soul music scene in Japan.
Interesting.
Anyway, like with full horn sections, and like there's this one band that's really big in Japan, and it's almost a complete ripoff of James Brown.
Okay.
But it's a Japanese version of it. Anyway.
Interesting.
And so I looked that up, but I also have been seeing a lot of baby boomers, like our parents' age, watching Korean like serials, shows, TV shows on Netflix, because Netflix has a whole variety of things you can watch, right?
Right.
Have you noticed this?
A little bit, but not entirely.
So I have a theory that like for people like my mother-in-law, when they sit down to watch something, they don't want it to be harsh. They don't want it to be dark. They don't want it to be.
I see. So like it's kind of
it's like bubblegum kind of stuff.
But I'm trying to think, is it the kind of thing you would have seen like in the like Lifetime channel or something? Or?
Yeah, but better because it's modern. But it just reminds me of the 80s or maybe even the 70s. Like when I watch Happy Days, which was a big show, it was a primetime show. There's not a lot of nuance to Happy Days. This was a run of the mill show that everyone watched, and parents like kids would watch it and go like, that was a good episode where Fonzie got upset and like threatened a guy and the bully ran off. Tom Hanks was one of the bullies actually. And
you're right. It was what you see is what you get.
Yeah. There was no subtext.
Yeah.
There wasn't darkness, no politics, or very little. I mean, there was politics and like All in the Family stuff. Anyway, point is that it was easy to understand. And I feel like with American music, similar to J-pop evolving, we have evolved, right? So we don't want to, the general audience doesn't want to watch Happy Days or Fresh Prince of Bel-Air anymore,
Yeah.
But with our generation, you'll see a lot of us watching things like The Office or Parks and Rec.
That's true, and that is very vanilla in that sense.
Right. There's a number of aspects to it. Or Gilmore Girls, for example.
Which my wife and kid are watching.
I'm glad. You should watch it too. I've been telling you.
I tried. I was down there, and they kicked me out because they wanted it to be just their show.
Oh, okay.
Like, damn it.
Yeah, okay. Well, the next time they watch it, which inevitably they will, maybe you can join in. And so I think that it says, I think it says a number of things. One is that shows today, like a show like Euphoria, for example,
right,
or White Lotus, these shows are building off of what has done before. They're trying not to do what was done before.
Right.
They're trying to push envelopes that have yet to be pushed. And that's a good thing, but it makes it harder for sitting down and just relax watching, right?
Yeah.
Severance, for example, a great show. You can't really just sit down and casually watch it.
Right.
The other thing is that...
Also, if you miss an episode, everything's done.
Right. Whereas The Office, it didn't matter.
Right.
So with another thing that, and I'm not the first person that's saying this, but while I'm on the topic, back in the day, they would do seasons, and the networks had so much money they could fund a show for 30 episodes a year.
Yeah.
Whereas now, Netflix and Hulu and stuff, they don't necessarily want to invest that much. Plus, if they're going to, they want it to be like Game of Thrones, where every episode is like a gargantuan thing of production.
And attention spans are not going to be calculated the same, because instead of like, well, we have to have 30 because we have weeks and one episode comes out once a week.
Right.
Now it's like these come out, the 12 episodes come out, and they'll be done watching them by Monday.
Yeah, they're essentially long movies.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not saying anything new. I'm boring myself. Let's take a break. What do you say?
Weapons!
All right, back from the break. Yeah, I'm sure I bothered everyone by saying I didn't like Weapons. Now, the messages of Weapons, I can get behind, but I don't like horror. So
no, that's clear.
So to everyone that kept telling me it's not like horror or it's a good horror,
I was one of them.
Stop fucking saying that, because it's fucking horror.
You've proved your point.
28 years later.
Don't spoiler it. I haven't seen it.
I can't really spoil it. It's kind of a setup.
But you didn't like it.
It feels like it very much is a to be continued.
Well, no, they already announced the sequel.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that explains it, because this movie doesn't really have a story, and it's pretty boring. And I found myself tuning out when the zombies were on screen.
I see.
I like certain zombie movies. There are some.
Did you like the original? 28 Days Later?
I mean, part of it has to do with the context. 28 Days Later came out. When it came out, it was a phenomenon because we'd never seen anything like that before. Not only just the kind of handheld, lo-fi look to it, but you had actual scary zombies that were running around. He invented modern day. Everything comes out of that one movie. 28 months later.
Although it's funny because I didn't realize that at the time, but the original, what was the original show, one of those original movies of zombies.
Yeah, the Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah, like they actually moved fast too, which is mind-blowing, because I thought they always moved slow until 28 Days Later, and it turns out they had that concept. It's just 28 Days Later did it masterfully.
Right, in terms of the kinetic,
and the feeling of like you're done, like there's because you're right. In a lot of the other ones, you're like, well, I mean, I can see how I can get away here,
right?
And that one's like, well, what do I do?
Right, it's just a force of nature.
Yeah, exactly.
And the kinetic way of shooting it, and the gritty, protagonists that are just like scraping by. There's no time to rest. And so I greatly respect. 28 years later, again. As with Weapons, I appreciate the attempt. There are themes that they're trying to introduce that are very not zombie movie or horror movie.
Yeah.
I'll say there's a scene at the end, or a sequence at the end, kind of the main climax of the movie, that has to do with family and grief and dying and stuff. That was something I've never seen before in anything. I mean,
that was good. Like you thought that part.
It was very, which is why I gave it a 2, because
that gave it that point.
But even then, I mean, I appreciate the message. I appreciate the risk, like the balls it takes to write something like that, and for everyone to act. And the kid did an amazing job. I mean, everyone did an amazing job. There's only like really 4 actors in the whole movie, but maybe 5, you could say. Anyway, but even the way it's executed, I'm just like, golly, do we have to watch this part of it?
I'm so curious what.
And I don't have a squeamish stomach. It's just like gratuitous. We don't need to like. I understand that Han Solo takes a shit now and then. I don't have to watch it come out of his ass. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like you can tell the story. You don't have to show us the gristle coming off the bone. Right, you know what I mean? Anyway, I also watched But I'm a Cheerleader from 1999. I remember watching this in my 20s and loving it. It's like an early LGBTQ movie.
Oh, I don't know this one.
Yeah. It has Natasha, what's her name? Natasha Lyonne.
Oh, we know Natasha from that show we liked. The Russian
Doll.
Yeah.
I also rewatched Wreck-It Ralph and
fun.
I love that movie so much.
I love it.
Okay, good. I'm glad you like.
Oh, I love Wreck-It Ralph.
I gave it again a 9 out of 10.
So good.
It is so good.
Touching. It's so man.
It's well written.
Well,
moves fast. The look of it and the Candyland and the twist and everything is just and the B plot with the Fix It guy and the Halo girl. You know,
they really have good arcs. You know, and like it's so good.
Yeah, and it makes sense, you know, when you have that moment where our protagonists hurt each other.
Yeah.
It's you get it, you know.
And it's a movie like that movie would have been good enough, like I would have enjoyed it enough if they hadn't thought through as well as they did all the connections between what was the backstory for this broken machine and all these kinds. But in the end, it pays off so well. You're like, oh, I get it. I get why Turbo went Turbo. I get all these things.
And it feels like real 80s coin-op video games. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like to the fact where I got a coin-op video game thing in my dining room upstairs that we play sometimes, and it has Fix It Felix on it.
Oh, I have to play that.
And when I saw that on my stand-up coin-op game, I'm like, wait, was Fix It Felix? And did they actually? Because it's such a well-designed game that is exactly because sometimes when they do that, they kind of fuck, like when we were watching the Black Mirror episode with.
Oh yeah, and they made the
little guys, the AI little people.
What was that called?
Not like Oblivion or something, but the Minions or something.
Yeah.
And so
Pods.
You and I were talking about how graphics weren't that good. I mean, the game didn't have good graphics, but it
was still better than it would have been at the time. Yeah.
And by the way, I played the game. You can play that game.
Oh, you can?
Yeah.
Oh, that's dark.
on because Netflix has games.
Yeah. So you can actually play that.
You can play that game on your phone.
I'd be afraid to play.
Yeah, I mean, well, it got boring because you played these missions.
Yeah.
And it just felt really repetitive.
But they must have Easter eggs where like all of a sudden they start talking to you and
that kind of stuff. Yeah. But anyway. So one battle after another. That'll be the final.
Oh my God.
So let's try not to spoil it.
Okay.
But I don't think the themes are immediately presented.
Yes.
So we can talk about how it is, is written like 10 years ago and started to be filmed a couple years ago.
Which is so prescient.
And
I cannot.
Its central theme is immigration and activism and racism that is dominating politics and people who want to go to Mars and this kind of thing.
I was in shock while I was watching it because I was like, wait a minute. First of all, I didn't know it was written 10 years. I was like, did he just like crank this out last week? Like, I don't understand. And I don't know if I told you, my brother and I, we were watching it together. We both had an anxiety attack during the movie. Like I had an anxiety. I started feeling like an anxiety panic attack.
From what?
Because it started feeling too real, like the situation.
Like what was the fear in your body? Like what was it responding to?
It was when they started, it was like sort of in the middle of the movie when they're coming for them with the helicopters and everything, and the families are trying to hide, and they're like, and then the sensei, which is our favorite character, oh my God, Benicio. But all of a sudden, I'm like, what am I? I'm watching a Black Mirror. Like I'm watching reality right now. Like this sucks. Like
there are scenes that, at least from the look of it, it looks like this is what this would look like.
Yeah.
And
yet,
and
this is what's happening. Like, yeah.
And yet, there are also elements of it that are obviously cartoonish.
Yeah.
Like at the very beginning when the leftist, it's sort of like Antifa, I guess. Yeah. They're attacking an outpost of ICE agents or police that are rounding up immigrants or something. And they're freeing these activists, these Antifa are freeing the immigrants, and they're attacking, but not killing the police and the ICE agents. And they do it in a way that feels like, oh, this could be what it feels like. And the activists feel like real humans. Yeah. Like Leo DiCaprio is one of them, and he just looks like a regular guy. You know, there's nothing special about him. But when they're leaving, they blow up all these fireworks, not bombs or C4 or anything. Right. And it's like, oh, that wouldn't happen. Why would you bother with fireworks? But you could see maybe they would do it to like draw attention or something. But it rode that line. And, you know, and then Sean Penn's character and that cabal, the Christmas people, you're like, well, yeah, that's a thing.
But it's also they're dialing it up. Yeah.
But it's sillified.
Yeah.
But it's still a thing.
Yeah.
And so, and also the agencies involved don't make a lot of sense.
Right.
And then the secret code that the Antifa guys have is sillified, but also you could imagine that being a thing. And
that whole thing, by the way, was so stressful and also fun.
I was laughing.
He's like, listen, you know why? Like, why am I? Because I could picture myself in that boat.
So, newsflash: I'm not in Antifa. I'm not in a secret cabal of people trying to overthrow the government or something. And yet, we've all been on the phone with customer service, and we just want to get through, and they're just like, "You're going to have to give me the password," and you're just like, "Fuck!" And
get a supervisor.
And he literally gets a supervisor. And he's like, "I'm calling an Eagle 10. You're calling, I'm calling an Eagle 10. Deal with that," you know. And it's just like, it's so fucking funny, but like PTA in Licorice Pizza with the Japanese joke, there's a thread of that in this movie, but it's executed well.
It's executed really well. Yeah.
But there's a thread of that where it's just like he's making a joke because he's kind of making fun of Antifa or of activists.
Well, definitely. Well, it's great because they do the whole thing. Like the guy is concerned about like all the microaggressions and you know all these things, and he's like, "Dude, this is a real emergency."
Right. So that could be considered like, wait, you're making fun of people that will decry or will call out microaggressions. You know, like the guy's like, "This is I don't feel safe anymore."
I don't feel safe anymore.
And so it's over the top and it's silly and it's obviously making a joke at whose expense. It's hard to know exactly.
By the way,
but at the very least, it works in a way that the Japanese joke to
you was too much. Yeah.
And let me just finish that point. Actually, that I'm glad that PTA didn't crawl under a rock, like maybe the way Wes Anderson might when he gets blowback about something.
I see.
And he's like, "Oh, okay, shit, I don't want to offend anyone." PTA is just like, I don't know what his thought process was, or the script was already done, or I don't even know. But after he got attacked for that, because that's the first time I think he's ever really been like attacked for something like that, that he's like either undeterred or might have even leaned in. Sure. Because this is his first movie that I can think of, correct me if I'm wrong, that has like explicit race relations and activism in it, right? You got There Will Be Blood.
Yeah, I guess so.
You have Boogie Nights. Yeah. You have Magnolia. I'm trying to think if in Magnolia there was any race discussion. I mean, I suppose in the very beginning when the cop loses his gun to I think it was like a few black boys that found his gun or something. I can't remember, but not a lot anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly in Magnolia, the Tom Cruise character, which I watched the whole documentary about that whole thing. And I love Magnolia and love Tom Cruise's character even more now, learning about what was happening behind the scenes, because Tom Cruise had a dad that was abusive.
Oh, I didn't know this.
That he was estranged from.
Oh, boy.
And so in that scene where he goes to the dad, that was all improv. Like Paul Thomas Anderson told Tom Cruise, "I just want you to kind of
imagine this,
or just make up with your dad." Like it was a short scene where he's supposed to break down crying.
Oh shit!
And kind of forgive his dad.
But he didn't know the backdrop that he was actually
of Tom Cruise's
getting triggered by it.
Of his life.
Yeah.
But he also said to Tom Cruise, do it where the camera will be on, and you also have Philip Seymour Hoffman in the background because he's the orderly, the nurse, right? And he doesn't know what Tom Cruise is going to do in this scene. And you can see him blurry in the background, but you could see him in character kind of reacting, you know? It's just...
so good.
But when you understand that Tom Cruise has that trauma and you see him playing it out on camera,
wow,
it kind of explains why he's a little weird in his life, you know, that he has this desperate need for a strong cult to tell him what to do, to tell him that he's special, to give him structure.
Yeah.
And how kind of odd he is when he approaches the press, and how, you know, when he's being interviewed.
It's such an interesting, that whole thing, maybe that would be a whole deep dive or something, because he is such a overachiever, right? Like such a like, think about how much he's accomplished in his world.
Well, and also how like, overt he is about pushing himself.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he does a lot of his own stunts.
Yeah. And some crazy, like Jackie Chan kind of craziness.
Right. Where other guys or other actors in his position would say, let's take it easy. This is the good years. He's going harder into it, you know? But anyway, so, so one battle after another. Berto, immigration, politics, how did it make you feel?
So I was so enthralled from beginning to end. Like I said, I had some strong emotions. I was feeling high anxiety in the middle of the movie because I was sort of having this reality, like I was like, wait, this is actually too real in a way, and not against the movie, just the thought of it, and how we're seeing those scenes in the movie, and they're supposed to be like, imagine if things got there. But I'm like watching the news, and freaking ICE is like literally stealing little naked kids from apartment buildings, and it's like, no, oh my God, right? The acting, of course, was just so delightful. So delightful. Sean Penn, man.
Yeah.
What a creep. Like, what a crazy weirdo. What an amazing portrayal. And to your point of the cartoony, like, you know, because he survives the crash and he comes back like Terminator, and that's that cartoony element. But it's so enjoyable.
Yeah. And that final sequence when they're rolling through the hills and and Johnny Greenwood's soundtrack, which I didn't know was Johnny Greenwood when I was watching it, but I was like, this is a great soundtrack, because one of the things that annoys me about contemporary soundtracks is there's no melody. They're always just like it's just like vibe, and it's rhythmic.
And Nolan is notorious, for example, for having just like oppressive feeling.
Hans Zimmer, right?
Yeah.
It's just like, whoa, you know, and whatever, it's effective, but
I like it, but you're right. It's not as
melodies can do a lot of work, but since it's associated with cheesy 70s movies, all contemporary soundtracks get away from anything resembling. So you can have dark melodies, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Johnny Greenwood has actual melody. Now it's sort of Hans Zimmer-esque, you know, esque in that it's not like do 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 do, you know, like 70s, but there's actual like sequences of notes that you could maybe hum along with. But anyway, so as that music is playing, and it's very in sync with everything, and the hills and the suspense of the father and the daughter,
and you're feeling as an audience member, it almost felt like a 3D movie or something.
Yeah,
you're in that, like, you don't know what's over the hill.
Yeah,
it's like all this metaphor and reality of like, what the hell's over the next hill?
Yeah,
what's coming?
Yeah, and a fantastical, like, ridiculous scenario that actually seemingly could have happened.
Yeah,
you know, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility.
Right.
And at the final, you know, we won't spoil, you know, what happens at the sort of end of that sequence, but even that is a pretty fantastical scenario that actually looks like it could have happened. It
rides that line, to your point. The other thing is, again, without spoiling,
and meaning that, let me just put a fine point. It's hard for me not to spoil it, but you have a scenario where people could have easily said Mary Sue, or you know, unrealistic competence of a girl or a young girl or something,
or Leo,
and yet it doesn't come across that way at all. No. It comes across like, I could see how that would have happened, and it wasn't smooth.
No,
it had a struggle.
Yeah.
You know, there were messy, chaotic elements to that. You know what I mean? Anyway, so I just want to...
No, absolutely. And even the bad guys aren't smooth either. It's not all like, oh, well, they're just like Terminators. There is an element of that oppressive, like, geez, they're so powerful feeling. But at the same time, the one guy, Penn, is driven by like some deep, like conflicted trauma and feelings and things, which completely clouds his judgment and screws up everything. And in the meantime, like the association, that weird secret cult thing, they're obviously a mess too, right? And they send one guy to take care of it, but he like trusts the wrong guy, and then like it's all presented in like nothing is perfect, everything is messy.
And the black woman at the beginning, the leader of the Antifa group, is a character I have never seen in a movie.
So great. It's like, is she good? Is she bad? Is she neutral? Like, what are we doing here?
and such nuance and power and vulnerability and interest and just magnetism. You know, you're just like, who is believable person? Like she could exist. This
you could have had that character in the first scene be like, I'm a strong woman, so I'm just gonna humiliate you. And there's like, instead, no, it's like this nuance game of like, who's the cat? Who's the man? Like, wait, is she into him? Like, wait, what's happening now?
Yeah.
And then the whole like.
And that's just
just the first scene.
That character is a whole movie in that movie
in of itself, and she's only in for like 20%,
maybe the first quarter or first third, and then she's gone. We skip forward 17 years, 16 years, and we never hear from her again. And we're in a whole other movie.
And in another more traditional movie, she comes back guns blazing to save the day or something, redeem herself or something.
Right,
Spoiler alert.
Yeah,
she doesn't.
I just want to mention one other movie that I saw that's in the theaters, Tron Ares.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
So I really liked it. And a lot of people on YouTube anyway hated it. But a lot of viewers liked it.
Is it a horror movie?
Yeah. So what I'll say is I don't recommend it to anyone other than if you're just wanting to watch a bubblegum popcorn movie. If you want to put your brain on the back burner or something and you just want to watch kind of an interesting story. The thing about the story is I understand it. I rewatched Tron Legacy,
in preparation,
the one like 10 years ago. Yeah, and like the night before. Actually, I went to see Tron Ares with Nicole.
Oh, how's she?
Our friend. She's good. Well, she's anyway.
Okay.
She was going through something, but anyway. She invited me to the movie, so I went, and I was like, oh, I better watch Legacy. So I watched Legacy, and I remembered just how bad this movie was, and I remember how much I wanted to like it. Because the first Tron movie was very formative for me when I was 11 years old or whenever it came out.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not a great movie if you just look at it, but at the time for a 10-year-old... It was like another Star Wars to me in a way. And to never have a follow-up to it was a bummer, even though I didn't need a follow-up, but it just seems like it would be interesting. So when Tron Legacy comes around, and they just completely squandered the opportunity.
Sure.
And
so you were like, God.
And they also changed the whole look to it.
Yeah.
A big part of the original Tron thing was the look. And they modernized it, which I kind of understand, but it just, I don't know. It took the wrong things from the original and added like a really goofy thing. And it felt half baked. Anyway, I won't go into the detail in the script, but it was really bizarre how poorly it was written. So when Tron Ares is coming out, I'm just like, well, oof. But I understand it. Now, the premise is ridiculous. I mean, the very first one's ridiculous.
Isn't this like they come to life in real world?
Yeah, but they explain it, and I won't spoil it, but it's like mildly plausible.
Well, if you could digitize the one dude into the computer, I could see the reverse thing.
Well,
happening.
I'll just say 3D printing.
Sure.
So,
I love it.
So
I love it already.
If you advance 3D printing,
right.
then... it's
why not?
Yeah, it's got to be hundreds of years in the future, but it's not magic. Sucking a person into a computer, you could say is magic. Like, what are you doing with the with the molecules of that person.
Whereas like I can see the 3D printer thing.
Right. So so that's what happens.
Okay. And it's got the guy from 30 Seconds to Mars.
Yeah. And all the people, all the nerds on Reddit, of which I'm one of them, I guess, says the movie has to be stupid because it has Jared Leto in it.
What are you talking about? He's in Fight Club.
and the thing is, it's like everyone's focusing on Jared Leto, and he is in it, and he's like a producer of the movie, I guess. But it's not really him, because that character doesn't have a lot of acting, because he's a computer program.
He's the bad guy, right? He's like the bad.
He's Ares.
Yeah, he's Ares. Yeah.
So he doesn't have a lot of emotion. The main character is played by the woman who was in that great movie that was Oscar nominated a couple years ago, Korean woman who, she was a kid and she was friends with a Korean boy, and then she came to the States and he stayed in Korea.
Oh, I don't think I saw that one. That was the one I didn't see.
It's a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
But I think her name's Greta something. Let me look up her name.
Wasn't it the same year as
Greta Lee? Yeah,
I think it was the same year as the I'll
look it up. It is Past Lives.
Past Lives, right? I didn't see that one.
So it's a good movie. It's a drama, but it's good. And so
Parasite, wasn't that the same year as Parasite?
Oh God, no.
Oh.
Why would you think they're like 7 years apart or something?
Really?
Yeah. Or
Parasite 5. Is that old?
Parasite's a while ago. Yeah.
Man.
Parasite's like 2018.
What the heck is happening?
2019 Parasite.
Oh man, I thought Parasite was much more recent.
So she is the main character. She's the one that we relate to.
Okay.
And she does a great job, and it's believable, and it's not girl bossy. It's not Mary Sue-ish. You know what I mean? It's like you kind of understand where she's coming from, and now, if I didn't like Tron, the first one, I probably would have given it a 6, because it's like, yeah, serviceable movie. But I gave it an 8 because it redeems the Tron, and we expect to see more Tron movies after this. You know, I just
now I want to watch it. I wasn't going to watch it. Now I want to watch it.
And I appreciated they didn't acknowledge the Tron Legacy one hardly at all. Okay. I was worried. I'm like, well, what are they going to, because the actor in Tron Legacy, the main guy who plays,
I barely remember that movie at all.
He just has no charisma for me.
That movie must have made such a little impact, because I honestly, like, part of me feels like, wait, did I even see the movie? I did see the movie.
It was literally 15 years ago, so it's not surprising you don't remember it. Plus, like, back then, there were a lot of good movies in the theater.
But I do remember it. Like, I remember scenes, but I don't remember what happens at all. Like, it's so...
Let's take a break, and after that, let's bore the listeners with something else. What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right, back from the break. Annual long-term patron, Katie. She says, "Hi, Dr. Kirk and Berto. After listening to you nerd out about the Alien movies and Star Trek, I got curious if you've ever watched Doctor Who. Have you watched Doctor Who, Berto?"
Sadly, no.
Yeah, me neither. For some reason, it just feels like a chore that I would have. Like, where do I begin?
Yeah.
And I did watch. Have you ever seen any episodes?
The only thing I know about Doctor Who is that the TARDIS is a thing, because there's that song "Doctor in the TARDIS" that grabbed the doo-doo-doo and then made it into like a smash hit, and it was by the these guys. They wrote the manual, like how to write a hit song in 10 days or whatever. Do you remember this? Like,
no.
They burnt $1 million or £1 million as a stunt. No. Anyways, that's all I know about Doctor Who.
You might like it because, at least the episodes that I've seen, it has a Rick and Morty kind of vibe to it, where it's someone who knows a lot of things,
right,
and then someone who doesn't, and they like have these fantastical journeys across time and space
using the phone booth.
Yeah, and they have adventures, you know, and they have to do things, and they deal with similar things that Rick and Morty deals with, like questions of existence, or what if you did have like 5 people that like split off, and they
it sounds fascinating, and they have different Doctor Who's, right? Like, because
apparently
I think in the fiction, Doctor Who's more like an entity, and like
it gets reincarnated,
or something like that.
I mean, it's a clever way to keep the show going, because the show's been going on since like the 60s or something. I don't know.
Which one's your favorite Doctor Who? But that's a question that people ask, like, which one's your favorite? You know, and
the only one I know of is Daemon Targaryen. You know, Matt Smith, I think his name is. He also played Prince Philip, right? So anyway, K-pop Demon Hunter. Speaking of, middle tier patron Brittany from Nelson, British Columbia. I mean, I know Richmond. I know.
Is that where the band Nelson originated from?
Of course. She says, I'm a longtime listener and recently became a patron.
Ooh.
As I worked through my master's level clinical internship, your deep dives had made all the difference in my practice.
Oh, nice.
I wanted to ask if you've watched the movie K-pop Demon Hunters. I've recently seen it about 10 times due to my elementary school age son's mutual obsession. And the first time I watched it, I was blown away. I was not expecting it to be quite so profound. I would love to hear your thoughts. So don't spoil it for me, because I haven't seen the end. I'm about halfway through. But it's similar. Did you watch Arcane?
Oh, yeah.
So
I love
it's similar to Arcane.
Season 1 especially.
Yeah, Season 2 I did not vibe with.
Yeah, it drops off. But
Season 1 is some of the most perfect television writing.
It's incredible.
That has ever existed. And K-pop Demon Hunters is a similar kind of way. It just feels like masterfully crafted. I looked up the showrunner, the person, the woman who she's born in Korea but came to Canada, Toronto, I think, when she was 5. So she's like you, I guess.
Yeah.
In that she's fully North Americanized, but having been
has
born.
Those roots, yeah.
Yeah. So she would have grown up with a lot of Korean culture at home, but in the world, she's in Toronto, Canada culture.
Right.
And similar to Turning Red. What was that movie?
Yeah, Turning Red.
Right. So
she's full Canadian, but also has those roots.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's like anime themes.
Yeah.
Because it's not really anime. It's like it's more akin to what I would call Disney animation.
Sure. Yeah.
And it has anime sort of influences, like overt anime, which I'm not a fan of, by the way, because I'm not really familiar with that with that sort of syntax. When their eyes go big and shit. Yeah. Like, I understand it, and if you grew up with that kind of syntax, with like Pokemon and stuff. Yeah. Then I understand why that would appeal to you. But when they did that in Turning Red, and I get it, but the jokes are hilarious. Like when the other 2 demon hunters are having abs as eyes.
yeah. I thought those things. I do get how like it's like, wait, why did the style change? But it is funny,
but that's what anime does.
Yeah. And I thought it was hilarious.
But yeah, I mean, Arcane, but also there's another movie that is sort of this ilk that came out a year or 2.
Hold on, though.
Okay, please.
Arcane is on another level for me.
Yeah,
I like K-pop, but Arcane's. But what I'll say is that I was expecting. I literally only sat to watch it because I was forced. I was like tied down by my daughter.
So you hadn't heard that it was...
I hadn't heard anything about it.
Because I had heard that it was good.
And in fact, my younger daughter doesn't like it.
Oh.
But she still forced me to watch it. But I think she doesn't like it because she likes being a contrarian a bit. Oh. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe she legitimately...
Well, that says something for you to sit down thinking you're not going to like, because it doesn't look like the sort of thing that...
I had zero... Like, I'm like, what? Even the name, I'm like, what the... I start watching it, and I'm ready to, like, kind of hate watch it. Maybe I'll start making fun of it, but maybe not. I gotta read the room. Are they really into it? But I'm kind of into it.
Yeah.
And then I'm disappointed when my younger daughter wants to be done watching. I'm like, no, wait, I'm into this. Like, yeah, I was surprised that I ended up really enjoying it. And
it just says something that you can have a genre of movie that is not in our wheelhouse,
right?
That has nothing to do with us,
and even the music style. I don't particularly care for that music style. But
like I don't have any cultural, I don't even have a thing with boy bands or girl bands because in my
Other
time,
than the Beatles.
we sort of missed it. Like, there was Belle Biv DeVoe sort of later in my pop listening
New Kids
years.
on the Block.
Yeah, and they were too young for me.
Yeah.
So I don't really have any of that in my DNA. And that just says something about good writing, that it doesn't matter. You can watch a movie about something that normally you would hate, but if it has good writing and good characters and a good storyline and good pacing and good directing and understandable people, and you lay out the world. I mean, this is a brand new world that they lay out in like 45 seconds.
Yeah.
And I instantly understand what's happening. And yet you have other movies like Episode 9, if we can bring it back there, where you're like, wait, how did Palpatine come back?
Right.
And why did Kylo die at the end?
Or Encanto, man. Because to me, Encanto is like a similar example of like they bring in the visuals, and they try to lay out the cultural connection, but the story falls flat, where they don't actually have something that. So all of a sudden, if you're not from that culture, you don't have anything to latch onto, and if you are from that culture, you're like maybe telling yourself, this is fun because I'm seeing my culture represented, but you're not like connecting with it.
Yeah, like with Coco, that creates a whole world.
Right.
Like
that's another great example. I'm not into Dia de los Muertos personally. I mean, it's fine, but I have no connection. So, and then the whole kind of like, I was so captivated by that movie.
Yeah, but also they go beyond that culture because they go into kind of the mechanics of the afterworld.
Right.
And you instantly understand it. Yeah, and they explain it and they show it and it has to do with the plot, It just really says that good writers know what the fuck they're doing when people aren't getting in their way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They know how to like I always think about with Brian Yorkie, my childhood friend who a Tony Award winning he wrote the play. I always think of it as his first title, which is I think it was like Turning Electric or something, but I can't remember the name. It's about a bipolar mom. It's a musical. Anyway.
Wow.
And he also was involved in 13 Reasons Why and other things like that. He wrote, I think he wrote all of that. He adapted the book into the screenplay. Anyway, when he also wrote another musical. Even though he's white, he wrote it about Asian American immigration experience.
Oh, wow.
He wrote it with an Asian co-writer.
Okay.
I think. And he in one musical, he touches on Japanese American, Chinese American, Filipino American experiences, which all have different aspects to it, and made it interesting and fun, and you cry, and there's music and there's songs. Making tracks is what it's called, and it's a marvel that you set out to write a musical about Japanese American, or about Asian American immigration experience in the United States. And you write songs, and you choreograph it, and the story bits connect. They make sense. It's satisfying, That's incredible, right? And so with K-pop Demon Hunters, you have people who are in control of the script that understand how to have things build up and pay off. Now, I don't know how it pays off. I can kind of see the writing on the wall because I've gotten to the point where you have the demon guy saves the demon girl from being exposed as part demon to the other demon hunters. Right. So you're like, okay, well, he's not all bad. And we heard a little bit from the head demon that this demon guy has been trying to do things that are somewhat counter to anyway. So, there seems to be some kind of thing brewing there, but yeah, just the setting up. There's so many things they have to set up.
Yeah,
they have to set up each of those three women. The character, and they literally use like a marketing thing.
Yeah.
But that's a good device.
It's a great device. I mean, I will say. I mean, I'll caveat the following. This one gets bumped up for me a bit because of how little I expected not to care or like it. Yeah. So certainly,
but that should tell you something because if it was like Star Wars related, then you're already primed to like it. Whereas if it's a genre and a topic that
it won me over in spite of me being like having. In fact, I was ready to like clown it.
Yeah.
Because it's like K-pop. What am I, K-pop demon hunter?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah. And then that's why with 28 years later and with Weapons, that I really didn't like it because I didn't have huge expectations, but I went into Weapons thinking the way people talked about it, this was a movie for me.
Yeah.
The way people talked about it, this is right up my alley. It's like the exact sort of movie that will appeal to me. And so I was watching it with that assumption. I wasn't even at no point was I trying to clown it.
Yeah.
But about halfway through, I'm just like, I think I'm bored. And when anything exciting happens, it's either disgusting or gratuitous or just annoying to me. And I wish we would just get back to the teacher,
I had a bit of a sad experience on the weekend because I showed The Omen, the original Omen, to my older daughter, and I was with my bro.
Is she old enough for that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
No.
Well, not only is she old enough for it, I was sad because she was like, it's not effective because she didn't grow up in that culture. So to her,
in Catholic
culture. Yeah, the things that made it so scary to me as a child, to her, she's like, I don't care about this. And
so actually that let me ask you a question when you're done with this.
And the things that make it legitimately like a scary movie, because you have like scenes where she's actually by now seen so many of those tropes in movies that none of it is shockingly the first time she's ever seen something like this. So she liked it, but she was also clowning parts of it. And I'm sitting there like, oh. And then at the end, my brother had notes about one of the scenes, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah. And to head off this at the pass, I, after watching Weapons, read a lot of reviews and recaps and stuff, and a lot of people were saying it's hilarious. Now, I like the writer-director guy because he was one of the whitest kids which apparently you never heard of. But I watched the shit out of back then and still watch today on YouTube. There's some problematic stuff, but there's also some hilarious stuff. And one of the main guys, Trevor, actually died recently. Anyway, I always saw Trevor and the guy who did Weapons as the two main kind of guys. It always seemed that way, that they were sort of the head writers of that troupe. And their acting and their scenarios were always really funny. Anyway, so with this guy, apparently people are just like, actually, it's a comedy. It's hilarious.
I did see it as a funny movie in a black way.
I wasn't laughing once. I mean, I'm trying to think of a thing I would have laughed. When the parents are poking their face
that's not funny.
But I don't know, because what was the laughter part? Like when at the end with the witch, like is that the funny bits?
No. No, to me the humor, I mean, first of all, I wouldn't call it like just comedy, right? Obviously. But I mean,
but people were saying people were cracking up in the theater. And I'm like, when were you cracking up?
I definitely had some moments where I laughed. But it was more like with the drug addict, there were some pretty funny scenes.
Because he's sort of a bumbling...
Yeah. So like, for example, the whole arrest sequence, there was a lot of funny moments. When he's trying to bumble into the house, some of the things I appreciated that were subtle. Earlier in the movie, we see the teacher goes to the backyard and she pulls on the fence and walks in with no problem. Later in the movie, we see the drug dealer squeezing through that same gate that is not locked by pushing into it because he doesn't realize he could have just pulled the door. So it's like stuff like that where it's like, okay, that's kind of funny. And then I don't know. It's just, you had to be there.
Yeah. But my question, Berto, is I was wondering if, because I grew up with a brand of Christianity that had almost no hocus pocus and there was no demons, there was no angels, it was just a personal relationship with Jesus and about love. And I don't remember ever hearing about hell or the fiery
or the Antichrist and the Armageddon and
Dante's Inferno. I learned about in college. And so I'm wondering if, like your daughter, horror doesn't work on me because it doesn't speak my language.
Some of that could absolutely be that, because I on the opposite end, I grew up in a culture, because Latin American Catholicism isn't just Catholicism.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about
extra superstitions.
You talked about your aunties and your grandma talking about like angels and demons are fighting in your neighborhood.
Yeah, and then like the cats being evil, all these kind of things. And so I grew up in a culture where absolutely lots of that stuff was real. So, and the book of Revelations was real. And it's like when it says 666, it's like, damn, who's got 666 on their skin? So when I watched The Omen as a kid on TV, because I didn't go to, it came out in the 70s, right? So this was like, they were showing it on TV. Maybe we even saw it at school now that I think about it, but I was like terrified. I was like, that's real. Like, meaning, I remember after watching it, we were all obsessively reading the book of Revelation and being like, oh my God, they're right. It says this thing and it says that thing. Like, what if the Antichrist is already alive?
Right.
And like,
So, like Get Out, the movie that is a horror movie that instead of making it a supernatural power like a demon or the devil or something, it's about the systemic racism. It's about the white devil that, and it's a twist on it because they are racist, but they also are jealous of black people.
Right.
And so with that movie, I loved it because I wonder if, and I think there, and
That's interesting,
I'm sure I'm not
Which
the
I
first,
loved it
I'm
too,
sure I'm not the first person to point this out, but the same way comedy can only be understood from within the context and the dark side of one's society. You watch a stand-up comic routine from the 70s, and if you don't really understand what the context was back then, it might not be funny at all. Sometimes when I watch, everyone's laughing in the audience, and I'm just like, what? Why is that funny?
We'll see how funny you find my costume at your party.
Oh no! So with these comedy geniuses, Jordan Peele and I can't remember the guy from Weapons, but him, and he's up there like Jordan Peele in my mind because of his work on Zach Kreger is his name. He's a writer-director. And with these comedic geniuses, they can tap into to be funny, especially with that, because Jordan Peele and Zach Kreger, Jordan Peele more than Zach Kreger, but they definitely would tap into the politics of the time and commentary about racism and stuff. Like the scene where Key and Peele are slaves. They're being sold.
Oh my gosh. And they're like being jealous that they're not being.
It's the funniest fucking thing.
So good.
And I rewatch, there's this one where Michael Key has to explain to Jordan Peele's family because they're all about to go to a gay wedding.
Oh.
And he's Jordan Peele's friend from work. And he's coming to explain to everyone what to expect at a gay wedding. Yeah. And it is the funniest so fucking thing. And so if someone were to watch that skit 50 years from now, they'd be like, what's so funny? Why are those people acting so weird?
Right.
So with horror, and horror often is comedic, there's certain funniness to it, right? That you also, as a comedian, since you have that talent, you can just shift a little bit into horror and also comment on society, which I've heard Weapons is doing.
Yeah.
But it's within the language of horror that I don't like.
Yeah.
So I don't know what my point is.
Well, the
But at the very least, you did confirm the possibility of the hypothesis that one's upbringing in Catholicism or whatever sort of fire and brand version of that you grew up with.
That must play a role into horror appreciation.
It sort of
I do think
sort of touches on something.
Yeah.
It's a language, it's a syntax.
No, but it's got to be, right? Because I'm not saying it's the end all be all. I'm sure you could find a billion counterexamples. But when you are a kid and what you believe as reality is that, there's a possibility my closet will open, a demon will hop out, the gates of hell will be opened. This is not like, if it happened, I wouldn't be like, what? I'd be like, I guess that's the stuff I got told that could happen. When that's the thing, and then you watch a movie, Hellraiser, where these demons from hell come out, you're like, God, this could happen. Like, even if you're older and you know that, okay, this probably is not going to happen, there's that little child in you. Right. That's terrifying.
Well, like when I watch Tron Ares,
yeah,
and it's a 6 out of 10 or a 5 out of 10, but it's touching on something from my childhood,
right?
A syntax, if you will, a language, then it bumps it up.
Yeah, that's quite possible.
I just want some justification for why it has 95% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I was bored out of my mind. Anyway, another email here, bro. This was kind of good. Annual long-term anonymous patron and YouTube member. She says, so that's great, right? Annual long-term patron and YouTube member.
And YouTube. Whoa, that's the double whammy.
Yeah. So she wants to criticize me, Berto.
Okay. Let me join it.
And compliment you.
Woo!
I just listened to the immigration series with Kirk and Humberto. I think Dr. Honda's model for dealing with existential threats makes sense and resonates with me. And she actually writes it out, which is interesting because I don't know if I wrote it out. She says, identify the emotion, identify what is motivating you to do, make a plan to address the emotion, enact the plan, and any remaining emotions are extra, in quotes. But I did feel that not enough empathy was expressed for Humberto. To be dealing with such a direct threat to his and his children's safety is so heart-wrenching and difficult to imagine. I was listening to the episode and just wishing that Humberto had a bit more of an opportunity to express his worries and be validated and empathized with. So let me chime in here and say, I completely agree, by the way. And I remember thinking that at the time. And it's not that I didn't validate or I didn't give you time. I mean, that it was you. It was the whole deep dive was dictated by your outline. But I feel like, as I guess an explanation, was that it kind of just worked out that way by the questions I suppose that you were posing to me, because you were prompting me with like, okay, what do we do with this? And you were asking me direct questions like, am I irrational for this? You would ask me, and I would say no, but also that's not really the question because I can't really evaluate that. What I can do is offer this thing, and then I go on my long, yammering, boring conversation about what I did, when I could have, spent more time empathizing and.
Yeah, I think potentially what happens is that I do this all the time. I mean, I think every human does this, so this isn't unique or anything. It's the whole until you're in the situation, it's kind of hard to know how much the situation feels to you or how much it affects you and things like that, right? So, I hadn't yet in this country, because we've had conversations in previous episodes of like, did I experience, racism being here and stuff like that? And we concluded, yes, there were times when I was in high school, there were all these times where even if at the time I didn't know, like, yes, I was being, but on the whole, I never felt like, oh man, can I really live in this place? Or maybe I should consider leaving, or never, ever until now. And that is like, that is fear. So I could see how maybe that part of that is like, I need a hug, man, mm-hmm. And then also let's talk about some techniques that can that kind of.
Well, I'm glad that you're piling on and beating me up. Just joking. I'm glad that you're not trying to save me.
Yeah.
And there's really nothing to save me from, but you're not doing what I think you sometimes do, which is try to smooth things over and make nice
Make
things.
a joke.
Yeah. You're just like, yeah, it would have been nice to get a hug or get some validation. And I do apologize for that. It's a problem of mine. I have my reasons. I think in the moment I was just following your outline, which isn't really an excuse, but I mean, I'm a human being. I'm a therapist. I should know better. But also, there's a job that I have as the lead even if you're doing the outline.
Right.
It's still my show. I'm still hosting.
You're coordinating things constantly.
Yeah. I have to do everything. I have to make sure that you're comfortable, that you have water. I have to make sure your microphone is in the right place. I have to make sure my desk is set up. I have to make sure the dogs aren't bothering us. I have to make sure that the temperature is okay.
You're wearing a lot of hats.
Yeah. And not to mention keeping the needle moving, saying entertaining / interesting educational things while avoiding saying stupid shit, recording it, making sure that it's tight but not too quick, and so I sometimes will be so distracted by that. If I was sitting next to me, if I was a third person, I would have a greater opportunity to notice what this person, which I'm guessing a lot of people notice, of just like, hey, Kirk, you probably should slow down and actually empathize.
I can totally relate from this side. Like, I just got to do better at home. Like, this happens to me. It just happened to me today, actually. Today, one of my kids was home from school because they had like conferences kind of thing. But I was working from home because, like that's a thing. So there were a couple times where they were having a conversation with me and I was only like, I was having the conversation, but also my mind was like trying to coordinate. Like I was still trying to figure out what I'm going to do to respond to this one thing. And I'm also thinking, well, what are we going to do for lunch? And so like, I'm wearing those multiple hats. So I am pretty sure I probably, like, I would imagine if I asked her, like, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, rate your satisfaction with your interaction with me in this time, she probably wouldn't give me a 10 in that moment. But I wasn't trying not to, I was just like, I'm wearing a lot of hats in this moment.
Yeah. And
so that's a very natural situation. But I feel like part of what it was is that you were offering a system for how to like proceed in uncertainty, which I think is very useful.
And I will give myself credit that I did say to you your fears were valid, because you were really, I don't know, expecting or thinking I might say,
you're being crazy,
Berto. Like you're taking it to like what? Right. I never even thought that.
I did not feel invalidated. That's absolutely right. What I think, and maybe there are other episodes where this has happened, where it's like you give me some really good system or idea for how to proceed with something, but then also, and it doesn't even necessarily have to be in the episode. It's like we might also need that like friend moment of like, oh, like here, come here, yeah, Begaloo kind of thing.
Yeah.
Just so that, because we are different, like we play different roles. Mm-hmm. And in that moment, I'm also playing a role, right? Like I am who I am. And I'm, I think by now the listeners probably know I'm not really like pretending to be Berto here, but I am also putting on a persona, meaning I'm, in that case,
if we were ourselves, this wouldn't be very interesting to listen to.
Yeah.
From an audience point of view, because we wouldn't be mindful that an audience is listening.
So there are filters there. So anyways, I appreciate the listener. Thank you for the support.
And then she goes on to say, my question is, would this be feeding into the extra emotion? Is there room within Dr. Honda's model to sit in the feelings a little before and after making and enacting a plan? How do we know the line between stewing in the extra feelings and giving ourselves the space to grieve? End of email. Yeah, so I'll address that since it's addressing my model of dealing with this sort of thing. It's unrelated. So, no, I would not consider human care and love and affection and empathy and recognition to be even in the realm of the question of, is this extra feeling? I thought it was well sort of explored in that episode, because as you would say, well, what about this? And what, and then I would say, well, then we're not done with the planning phase, we're in an iterative planning phase where we're developing a plan, but now that you don't know if that's actually the plan because it's evolving,
Yeah.
And it's not the model that I use or what I was proposing that I thought we kind of got to eventually. It's not to say that you sit down for 5 minutes and figure it out, and then anything after that should be shut down.
Right.
And even if that were the case, this doesn't apply, because if Berto is going through something difficult, and even if he isn't grieving, which is a part of those feelings, my human responsibility, particularly from a place of privilege, just because I don't have to deal with this, is, morally, it compels me to care. Plus, I do care.
Right.
Plus, it's a pattern for both of us to not burden other people with our vulnerability.
Right.
To not signal that we're vulnerable. And you were signaling that you were vulnerable. So, and I'm a fucking therapist. So it's really a separate thing. If Berto had done all my steps of let's say he was completely done with everything and he was enacting the plan and everything, that has nothing to do with Berto later on expressing fear and threat and just overall overwhelm. And for me to care about that, it has nothing to do with that. So I hope it's clear that for my model, I am not saying that emotions that you're having ongoing are quote unquote, even if they're considered extra.
Yeah.
It's not that you shut them down. It's not that you stuff them in a box. It's not that you discount them. It's that you just recognize that they're extra, and that you don't have to feel in that moment that now I have to figure out how to fix the problem because you've already addressed it. Maybe you go back periodically, but it's not a frantic feeling. It's a feeling, and you process it, and you cry, and you get hugs, and you get compassion.
Right.
But it's not something you have to sit down and, okay, what do we do? Because you've already done that.
And part of the thing that feels foreign to probably most of us is that there is a part of us that probably doesn't want to have a system in place, because there is this weird comfort that comes with being in the uncertainty. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's almost like, well, as long as I can keep complaining about how I don't know what I'm going to do, I feel like I'm doing something. Huh. It's this weird, the example, how we've talked about how I had, because of trauma, when 9/11 happened, I sort of like got re-traumatized and was stuck in front of the television ad nauseum trying to see like, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? And if we had had a conversation at that time and you or someone had pointed out to me like, hey, are you sure you're not maybe acting out some trauma and stuff? I probably would have been like, oh, I think you're right. But then there would have been this part of me that, because of the trauma, maybe would have been like, but this feels more comfortable. It feels more comfortable to actually stay here with the fear, even though now I'm aware that this is. So there's this part of it, which is like, I think when you were explaining the system, in my head, I'm going, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But also part of me is going, but wait, I don't want to solve anything. I just want to feel this fear because I'm uncertain. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. And something weird about that, paradoxically, gives me comfort.
Like if you divert your eyes, the danger will befall you.
Or it's, there could be that. Or it is, in my case, maybe I am generalizing, but maybe I shouldn't, because maybe in my case, it's part of the same trauma, right? It could be that I'm like, oh, as long as, like, now the TV is everything, right? Like, it's the news and the things, and I'm like, but I guess, where there is a difference with the 9/11 thing. Obviously, I wasn't actually being directly threatened in the subsequent days, right? But I was looking for answers. Like, who did this? Why? What's all these things, right? Yeah. And that was the addiction. Like, I need to find out reality, because in my world, I don't know why my parents got divorced. I don't know why my mom left, right? So I need answers.
Yeah, it's interesting as you describe, because I've heard you describe this. I didn't know you during this time. And I was there myself as well to some extent. And it's interesting because with my model, if I were there and you went along with it, you asked for help, or you were willing to go through the steps, and we say, okay, you're feeling fear and it's rational, and okay, what does that motivate you to do? If a part of that plan, after reflecting with self-awareness, said, well, part of my plan is to watch the news 24/7. And I'm making a choice, not out of avoidance or trauma reactivity, but I think this is actually something I need to do. Maybe for trauma reactivity, but it's a decision I'm making. I'm not just giving in to the algorithm and the fear-mongering and the capitalism of the news or of the algorithm on TikTok or something. You know, I'm making a conscious choice, at least for today. Then from the outside, I still wouldn't, judge people because that's not the point. But as a friend, I would say, okay, I mean,
that's the plan.
But it's a conscious choice. It's not a blind sort of reaction.
Yeah.
There's volition to it. There's thoughtfulness to it. There's a plan.
And I might be wrong, and it might not work out. But you're saying that I didn't not consider anything.
Right. You sat down. You reckon, but most people don't. Right. They're giving into the capitalist nature, because that's where we get all our fucking news. By the way, people who are making billions from your fear. Yeah. Now, maybe you should be paying attention, but almost no information is coming to us not through capitalism. So they have a purpose, but regardless, you're taking all that in, and we just sit in horror, and then we pay attention more, and we compulsively buy stuff on Instagram ads because we're trying to distract ourselves. We're going back to the thing instead of stopping and saying, what am I feeling?
Right.
And what is this? What can I do about it?
There is, recently, because Halloween's coming up, my daughters were trying to figure out what they wanted to wear, and the example, like my youngest daughter had different ideas of what she wanted, and she couldn't make up her mind. And I was trying to help her make up her mind, but I could tell that part of her didn't want to solve the problem because, and what I'm guessing is, if she commits to a choice, she feels the loss of all the other ones she didn't go with. So similarly, there might be an element of that in these situations where it's like, well, I hear what you're saying, but if I make a plan, now I've made a decision and I fear the decisions I didn't make. You see what I'm saying? So there might be some built-in resistance to committing to something.
I think I understand. I mean, I might describe it from my own perspective in a different way, that if I have a plan, and tell me if this resonates, like with 9/11 or today's immigration issues, if I go through my steps and I get to the point and I really spend some time thoughtfully, not impulsively, thoroughly figuring out what I can do about it, I have to recognize I have almost no power over this.
Right.
That's not a happy thing to,
right.
But I already know that. That's why I'm in a perpetual state of fear.
Right.
And there's some grieving to do there of, I have to grieve the fantasy that I'm in control.
Right.
Or even that my group of millions of voters that are on my side also
have control.
We don't have control.
Right.
Our representatives are in the minority. They can't do anything. Now, we can still do stuff, and those representatives can do stuff. Yeah. But ultimately, when it comes to voting and enacting a plan, we're having to ask, we're having to work around the edges, and that is sad. And I don't want to admit that. I want to live in this ignorant world of maybe there's something I can do, but I don't want to look at it because I will have to admit I can't do anything directly. Now, there are things we can do, right? And we should contemplate those things. And there are some situations where we might even say it's irresponsible not to do something, at least for the greater good. But I would never judge someone along those lines. But that might be another reason why you would avoid it.
Yeah, totally. This happened again today, actually, now that I think about it. My same daughter. She goes, I think I'm having melancholy again. And I'm like, okay. So I've been listening to Folklore, which is a Taylor Swift album. And the thing is, there's all these things. When I was younger, I had all these things I wanted to do during fall that make me happy. And I'm like, okay. But now there's like too many things I want to do. And so now I'm not sure what I want to do. And I suggested to her, I said, well, okay, what if you wrote down, like, pick 10 things you'd like to do this fall and see, maybe we can do it. Maybe we can do a whole bunch of them. Yeah.
Asterisk, were you like this when you were that age?
No.
Okay.
No.
I was kind of hoping that you were.
I wasn't. Not like that. I had different quirks for sure, but I never had melancholy.
Yeah.
At least I didn't think I did. Maybe, and I probably actually did, but didn't recognize it. It's probably more. But so but then.
I mean, the reason why I say I wish, because.
Kind of tracks.
Well, she's so smart and interesting that it would give me hope if you had it too, because it would mean at the end of the baking of the brain, she would get out to you and not some other result, you know?
Like I said, I had a lot of my own weirdness. But she then says, well, but the thing is, what I really want is I want to inhabit the world of folklore. And I was like, okay, so fair enough. What if you wrote down things that are like symbolically part of the world of folklore, and we can try to do them? And so she was kind of like, okay. But then I could tell that same little hesitation of like, you've given me a solution, but if I go and implement the solution you've given me, I give up the fantasy that is impossible. Yeah. And it's that odd thing we have. Maybe it's a very common human thing of like, but I want the fantasy. But I already know that I can't have the fantasy. And it's painful to realize that I can't have the fantasy. But there is a thing I could do. But can I just keep wanting the fantasy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to give something up
yeah.
when you actually look at the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what I'll say, Berto, is I'm sorry for not, even off microphone, really honoring the fear and the pain and the harm that has been happening to you and other people like you.
Thank you.
It's a privilege that I have to not deal with that in my current, demographic life. My people in the past didn't have that luxury, but, it's an easy thing for me to go, well, he'll be fine. or even, I didn't think this, or even just like he's overreacting or something. And I think and maybe part of it for me, my resistance was that deep down, obviously I don't want you to move from Seattle. And so,
and I did catch that, by the way. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm like, as we were having that conversation, I'm like, the thought that went through my head is like, oh, I think this conversation hurts, because it's like, wait, you're not really talking, like, because, and for me, I already had that experience of leaving all my friends in Colombia. So the last fucking thing I want to do is have to do that again, So yeah, no. And also there's the other aspect, which is, well, it's just basically the kind of thing where we are in an in-between gray zone right now, right? Like we are certainly not in the extreme version of what we could imagine, and we're also not at the very beginning of what we could imagine. And because of that, there's just a lot of ambiguity. And I think what's great is because I even have this capability of talking to a friend, and talking to a friend even on a podcast, because otherwise I'd just be at home stewing with these thoughts, and it'd be so much worse, Yeah.
And you wanted to talk about that topic. I didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't even on my brainstorm list. You actually said, let's do a deep dive on immigration. Yeah. And so that was all, you.
Well, I really, first I appreciated that we did it. I also appreciate that you are, saying what you're saying. Like,
yeah. And I also want to drive home that if... I'm going to be a good friend, which I want to be, then when you're in a rare scenario of exhibiting vulnerability, I need to fucking capitalize on that, and also not give in to the toxic masculine seduction of, well, he's strong. He
suck it up.
Well, not that, but that because we don't exhibit a lot of vulnerability with each other.
Yeah,
and there's a seduction, I'm calling it, of being coerced to believe that you and I aren't vulnerable and aren't scared,
right,
and aren't unsure and don't need a hug and don't need reassurance and don't need empathy because we're two strong guys, and when it's just being displayed right in front of me and I just am like, he'll be okay, that's doubly horrible because it's like it's finally happening.
It's here,
and I'm just ignoring it. So
yeah. I mean, like, I think I mentioned this before about my friend Ron, who, like, I wished retroactively him and I would have had a lot more talks about, being hurt and feelings and things, because we were both at many times trying to just be like, hey, let's just, be stoic and masculine about things.
And jokey.
Yeah.
Yeah. The two of you were real jokey.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
and it was,
and I was jokey with the two of you, but the two of you were real jokey.
Yeah.
Which was hilarious.
It's hilarious.
But also processing his death with you this past year, when I think back on, because at the time I just thought that you and Ron were just hilarious and like real fucking edgy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I am too, but you guys were doubly so. And looking back at it now, as you're kind of bringing it up, I'm just like, it has a different kind of feel to me. I mean, like, it's still hilarious, but
it's just
also,
it wasn't balanced by the other moments, right? And the other moments when him and I were by ourselves, I didn't know it, but him and I barely ever talked about our childhoods and our
That's
trauma.
So interesting because, I, with you, would do that.
Yeah.
And I with Ron would also, not his childhood, he really avoided that, but he could be really deep, and emotional and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I always just had this idea, this assumption really, that the two of you away from me and, being friends since high school, that you had all kinds of in-depth, because you would also you would also protect him a little bit, because I would say, what's going on with his dad or something? Right. And you'd be like, well, I don't know if I want to get into it. But now I understand that you really didn't have much there.
You know what it is? I think a large part of it is that I think him and I, we became such good friends and got along so well because we might have found little oases with each other away from all the bad stuff. Like when him and I were together, we could just be friends and have fun and listen to music and play silly video games and go to movies. And
so it would have been infecting your friendship, your oasis, if you were to go
without thinking about it, because it wasn't a conscious decision. We're like, "Ooh, let's not talk about stuff." It's just that I have a feeling like we probably subconsciously were like, "Oh, this is good. I like this.
Yeah,
this is fun. Let's not bring any bad stuff into this."
Yeah. The difference is he didn't have a therapist like you did.
Yeah.
He didn't have a wife like you did. He didn't have me like you did. He didn't have anyone, apparently, that he would talk about those things with,
Yeah. So I only brought that up because it just makes me think, again, how important it is and useful and great that I do have, a friend in you that I can talk to. Even if we didn't have the podcast, especially now, it's like I trust that I can come to you with stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how the podcast really plays a role in our friendship, because it forces us to go face to face and
Well, I would have been with you very much the same way otherwise, because I would have seen you as another great, fun friend that
you would have seen me like Ron.
I can escape from other realities.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I want to backtrack and say that Ron did have a therapist at times, right? So it's not like he was completely. I'm painting a picture, but all I wanted to say was that learning about the reality of what I think I understand to be his life and your life with him, I'm surprised, given what I know about you and him, that you guys didn't. You guys never did talk about those things.
I think that would surprise most people that knew us.
Yeah.
Because most people that knew us saw us as like these very close brothers.
And open.
Yeah.
And willing to go there. And yet, and it's like, and you didn't. I mean, I think it says more about the depths of his trauma. I mean, I think you would have.
I would have.
But I think for him.
But I also, I mean, and to be fair, when I met him, I was not talking about my trauma with anyone, right? But we then grew up, and then I did start doing that, right. And I still never...
And I did observe this in him, that his walls were so particular.
Yeah.
He had I don't know what prompted him to have those walls long before he met you, but he had walls, man. Really intense protections against going there.
Yeah.
And hearing this, it's like it's even more sure of me because he was a very personable guy. Yeah. He had a lot of conversations. He could talk about those things. He wasn't one of those guys like, oh, just give me a beer. Like he wasn't. Yeah, he was a complicated, out there, exploratory, good listener kind of a guy. So it's just, it really says, the walls that he must have had to prevent that sort of stuff from ever seeing the light of day.
Yeah.
And
I know that with me in particular, he also had put upon himself this expectation of what he wanted me to see him as. And he did that, with everyone in general, but like he kind of put me on a little bit of a pedestal in a sense. Like Berto is my special friend. I need him to really think of me as being much better than I think I am. That's the sense I ended up getting in the long run. And I tried to tell him, I'm like, man, I unconditionally, you're my bud unconditionally. But I think he had that. So that only exacerbated the difficulty for him to open up to me.
That's interesting. Yeah. That reminds, I mean, I only experienced a little bit of that, but I had that too. I wasn't, nearly as close as you were to him. Yeah, but I felt that too. Because he, in a certain way, you just frame it as he was just a really nice guy. Yeah. And liked to show people a good time. Yeah. And would really work really hard to work those angles, his connections and being an entertainer, buying people drinks, introducing people, we got to, trying to find the right spot and, introducing you to people and stuff and being that nice, smiley, funny, accommodating guy. But to hear you say that, it's like, oh yeah, that was, there was that element of, that it was limited, or that he would even do it to you. Yeah. And how close you were, because to me, it's just like, well, I don't see Kirk that often. So I'll try to, and he was always in that position of power. He always knew the right people and had all the right things and the connections. And so I was always this like, and so were you to some extent too.
I was a hanger on. We've talked about this before. Yeah, it's interesting. But so to tie it back, to connect it all back to this, like the thing is, I really believe that, and the more time goes by, the more I believe this. If you don't have someone you can talk to, things get so much harder. And so when we did this thing, I don't originally remember like why I wanted to do the deep dive, but I sure know that it helped me. Like it really did.
How so?
Well, because I got to express out loud what was going through my head anyways. And, and actually in doing the system that we discussed, I have, used it. I've been using it. And so that's helpful for sure. And I think adding this piece of like, and also remember, we're friends, right? Like that part, I think that kind of completes the puzzle is like, yeah. And you're right. Like it's historically harder for me to put myself or to expose my vulnerability, right? And this is a case where, and I'm also growing as a person. So I'm like, well, guess what? I do feel vulnerable. Kimono is open. Yeah. I'm culturally appropriating the kimono.
Birdo. All right. Well, friend, that does it for that episode. Fun, meandering
short,
episode
quick little
disappointing the listeners by hating weapons, but having the listeners rekindle their affection for me because I like K-pop, Demon Hunters, and then I get criticized for being a dick in a previous episode, but then I redeem myself.
Woo! Redemption song. I keep culturally appropriate.
And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because
you deserve it.